Hello everybody, Ashley here again. One more lesson in this little three-part series, and I'm kind of going to go back to the 4 points we've been making. I'm going to talk about purpose, okay? Because purpose, I must have ran into a fly a minute ago. Finding our purpose, finding out what your purpose is very important. Not just finding out your purpose, but understanding how to make that happen. When I was younger, I didn't really see a purpose for my life. I was just trying to make it through school, right? In the 8th grade, I decided I wasn't going to go to school anymore if I did not make it as a drummer in the Douglas County High School Band. That was the first time in my life I think I ever made a purpose or formed a purpose or had some sort of vision. So I started making efforts to reach that end. By the end of the 8th grade, I had learned how to play drums. I had learned how to read music fairly well. But in my heart, if I didn't make it in that high school band, I was not going to continue in school. There was no reason for me to be in school anymore, okay? And then when I finally got into the 9th grade and went through band camp, the first week of band camp, the band director told me and several others that we didn't make the cut. Wow. Kind of blew me away. My mom came to pick me up after that day of band camp, and I was just so depressed, so unmotivated, but she kept encouraging me. So I went back for the second week of band camp, even though I was told I didn't make it. I went back for the second week, and then the band director told me I was in. So it was kind of a weird thing because it's like, okay, I'm going to continue on in school. But I think that was the first point in my life where I set a goal and I took action to get it. And I thought that was my purpose in life, all right? But boy, was I mistaken. Because years down the road after high school, I thought I was going to be a rock star. Thought I wanted to be a rock star. Got married. Married life was great, right? Oh yeah, no, it takes effort. You have to have a vision for your marriage. You have to have a vision for your family. You have to realize that purpose, And I thought I wanted to be a rock star until I found out that our first daughter was going to be born. And when Sally told me that she was pregnant, it changed everything in my life. And I started realizing my purpose as a father, as a husband. I wanted family more than I wanted to be a rock star. It was like when I got that news that we were going to have a baby, my whole purpose, my whole vision for my life changed, but I was still struggling as far as vision. I knew at that point what I needed to do was get a real job that was going to pay me real money and, have some medical benefits and things like that. So I had to change. I had to see my purpose from a different point of view, okay? I still did a lot of stupid things, all right? But over the years, going through all the changes, I'm 63 years old now, and I've been learning a lot of things. And one of the things that has helped me lately was going to Psalms 119, and I mentioned this in the other video about going to Psalm 119. Most Bibles are going to have headings all through that chapter that relate to the Hebrew alphabet, the modern Hebrew alphabet. The ancient Hebrew alphabet was a little bit different. The ancient Hebrew alphabet was more like pictographs, all right? Like Aleph, the first word or the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet in its ancient form was drawn as like the head of a bull because that's what it meant, the head of an ox. And it stood for strength, it stood for might, okay? And so going into Psalm 119, as I was shown, and looking at these scriptures and breaking them down into the consonants of my name, because the Hebrew language is more about consonants. The vowels were used at the beginning of a word or a name, and sometimes at the end of the word or a name, not hardly ever in the middle. So it's kind of weird to try to look it up. But as I started reading these scriptures that pertain to my name, I started seeing what my purpose was. And it was kind of mind-blowing. And then last year, I had this revelation, I'll call it. And it was like, why don't you take all of those nouns, all of those pronouns actually, and flip them and write these scriptures out as if God were speaking them directly to you. And so I did that with the scriptures that pertain to my name, and it touched me so deeply. There were things in those scriptures that I read through from God's perspective, not the perspective of the psalmist who wrote them, but from God's perspective. And I wept because I read those things and I thought, I haven't done that. I wasn't like this when I was younger. I didn't do those things. I didn't take this stance when I was younger. And that was okay. It brought some brokenness, but it also brought me up to a point to where I could say, Father, forgive me for not heeding your words over me when I was younger. Help me to receive. Help me to be everything that you designed me to be, because I believe He's given every one of us a purpose. He has designed every one of us in a certain way. He's given us gifts, talents. He's given us all kinds of things to use for His glory, for His name's sake. That's our purpose. To understand that everything that we do should be for His name's sake. It's to glorify Him and Him alone. And that's very important, especially in these crazy times. We've just come through this year with coronavirus and social distancing and wearing masks and going through all this stuff, and now the presidential election, and some people are freaking out about that because it didn't go the way some prophet said. Let me tell you something. God is who we need to be looking towards, not man. The president is not going to get me into heaven. I don't care if he's Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, a communist. It doesn't matter. That person is not going to get me into heaven. That person is not going to give me peace. That person is not going to do a whole lot of things for me that's going to help me into eternity, that's going to help me minister to the people that I minister to. That president is really just a figurehead for this country. Yes, they have responsibilities. Yes, there are things that they have to do in that position. All right? But they're not a king. Donald Trump was not our king. Obama was not our king. Joe Biden is not our king. God is our king. And if we go back and look at Israel's history, one of the things God wanted was for the Israelites to rely 100% solely on Him. And when they had gotten into the promised land and the prophet Samuel rose up, Samuel became like their spiritual leader. Samuel had personal conversations with God and would bring God's instructions to the Israelites. Now, Samuel had some sons who were probably going to take over when Samuel died. But the people didn't want Samuel's sons because they were corrupt. So they cried out for a king. They cried out for a leader like all the other nations around them had. And Samuel said, we don't need another king. We don't need that. We need God. And God told Samuel, give them what they want. That's what they want. Give them what they want. But I'm going to show you the person that I'm going to give them as their king. And then Samuel, I want you to tell them what that king is going to do to their sons and their daughters and do to their lives. All right? Who are we looking for as our king? What is our purpose? Is my purpose based on a president? Is my purpose based on a governor? Is my purpose based on any politician? No. My purpose is based on what the Lord says. My purpose is based on what is God telling me in this season. And sometimes we miss it. The scripture says we all hear in part and we all see in part. All right? So if I hear in part, I'm probably going to prophesy in part. I may have a vision that the Lord gives me for spiritual things, and I may see it and go, wow, that's really crazy, and I may share it. I may think it's for you, and I may share it, but I may not get it completely right because we all hear in part and prophesy in part. So the church has to come together and lean on one another, because you can have a word, I can have a word for a certain person, and if we all come together, you know, it's like Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians 14, when you are together in worship, you come together, let 2 or 3 prophets speak and the rest discern. So we're all supposed to discern what that prophetic person is saying. Does it really sound like it's from God? Does it go along with the other vision or purpose that God has already given us as a church or for that person? And so we can all learn to discern what that is saying and help one another in our purpose. And that's part of my purpose here at ARC, is to help all of us see what our purpose is, to help us all walk that purpose out in this life. You know, are we in the last days? Well, I'm 63 years old. I'm in my last days. You know, I don't care about the beast rising up out of the sea. None of that affects me. I'm in my last days. I need to be doing everything that I can possibly do for the glory of God, for His name's sake, because that's why I was created and that's why you were created. So I hope this blesses you. I hope it gives you something to think about. And I thank you for listening. Look us up on YouTube. Look us up on our website at Atlanta Revival Center. If you want to donate, that would be great. We feed children all over the world. We're doing a lot of things around the world, and we're starting to do some things very powerful in this community. If you go to AtlantaRevivalCenter.com, in your upper right-hand corner, as you look at the screen, there should be a place for you to click and sign and donate if you choose to donate. God bless you all. I hope you have a great rest of the month and year. Be blessed.